Hello, everybody.
Perfect. So, no, this is definitely a much better quality video. Thank you. I'm glad it
Yep,
worked
much
out.
better than data. Much better than data.
Yes, much better. So, um, I will let you to start off this amazing conversation between us. I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone, and then I will kind of tell them how this conversation came to be, and we will jump right into the interview questions if that's okay.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Of course, of course. My real name is Lawrence Luton, but my stage name is, of course, Geekster the Supernerd. I'm 27 years old, and I live in the state of Mississippi.
Awesome. Well, I have so many questions about your stage
Oh,
name
wow.
and where you're from, but first I should let everyone know how this conversation between Geekster the Super Nerd and I came to be. Obviously, we do a lot of I do a lot of interviews on Instagram Live and connect through other people, and so Lawrence reached out to me and asked me about doing an interview and how that worked, and I definitely was interested in sitting down. I love meeting people. I love hearing their stories and connecting people. Especially you're in Mississippi, I'm in California. I don't know that we would ever have had the chance to meet otherwise.
I would have found a way. Even if I had to save up money and get a plane ticket, I definitely would have been able to make this interview happen.
Oh no, for sure. But I just mean in general, like if I wasn't doing these interviews, I would love to try to think of a way our paths would have crossed. But so I love getting to meet people and connect because I feel like we're all human and we all can identify with each other in a little way. And I'm so excited
Absolutely.
to talk to you. So
Yes, ma'am.
let's start with my very first question. What do you think people's first impression of you is?
Well, this is based off the 27 years I've been alive. Well, of course, with me, I'm not just a nerd, but I'm also a geek. But in order for to be able to answer that question, you have to know the difference between a nerd and a geek. The difference between a nerd is that a nerd understands complex and abstract things, but a geek creates abstract and unusual things.
Okay.
So with me, I'm in the nerd phase. I'm yet to become a geek. I've yet to reach that pinnacle yet. So a lot of people have they've taken it all out of proportion, saying that nerds are unusual, they're weird, they're creepy, they don't know how to socialize with the general population. But I don't agree with that, and that's the way I'm treated. I would have to say that in my hometown, I am an outcast because of the way I conduct myself.
So why do you feel that you're an outcast?
Well, no disrespect to my hometown because I take great pride in it, in my but a lot of people are quick to judge what they don't understand. You know, people are so used to what they're comfortable with that they're not willing to step outside of their comfort zone and able to, in order to be able to realize that life is more than what you're used to. It's about being able to experience different things, see different people, and being able to expand your horizon. But the people in my hometown aren't ready to do that yet. Not saying them in general, but those that I've encountered, they are not ready for that yet.
So, yes, we had a comment from someone that said they agree. It's not just your town, it's all over the world, which again comes back to why I do these stories. I feel that if you look at the 27 interviews that have been done and posted to the YouTube channel so far, everyone's so different, yet we're all the same. We're just humans trying to live our best life, right? So, I'm going to
Absolutely.
ask a little different question than I asked before, but you said that the people in your hometown aren't ready or they view you um, as a nerd. Why? What is it about you that you think that they're uncomfortable with?
Well, with me, I'm very outspoken. I'm very out. And the thing about it is that my intelligence speaks for itself. Like, I'm pretty sure within the first few minutes of you talking to me, you're able to see that, this is not just an average person I'm talking to. Like, this person is well educated. He knows what he's talking about. He has a way with words. But I feel like that intimidates a lot of individuals.
I agree.
So, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you think that people are intimidated by your intelligence, like you said, and by your interest in learning and knowing things, and not just staying kind of in your little box, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's first get into the information you shared with me about being a longtime victim of bullying. I would really like to talk about that because that is something that really, really gets to me, especially because I don't have any kids, but I moved around a lot as a kid, so I was always the new kid. So I always feel terrible when I hear stories of kids being made fun of or teased or, like you said, called nerd, called geek, because people really don't understand that everyone's qualities are important and special. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your story, that would be amazing.
Well, I would love to share this story, but in order to do so, we have to go all the way back to first grade, all the way back. Now, I come from a family of scholars. Like, I come from a family of five. I have three older brothers and I have one older sister. And all of them were scholars. They all made some of the highest grades in school. And with me, I had that same potential. But just like my siblings, I came across some controversy. I came across some obstacles because I was getting a lot of praise from my teachers. I had classmates that did not want to come to school, did not see the purpose in it. With me, excuse me, I love going to school. I did. I love learning new things. I was especially big on science. But the thing that started the bullying was when the teachers gave me special privileges. And things went downhill. They really did. It got to the point to where I was having stapler machines thrown at the back of my head. I've had paper balls thrown at me, spit balls. I've gotten wedgies. I've gotten swirlies. I gotten beat up after school. Like, pretty much anything you could think of that could happen to a student, it happened to me. So the bullying got so bad that I literally had to come up with reasons to be able to skip school. And some days I was successful. My mom would drop me off and stuff like that. She would tell me to have a good day, even though I didn't have a good day a lot of times. I would say at least once a month I would have a good day, you know, because I would be able to sneak. But the way my school was set up, I had okay, there was the school facility, then right next to it, there was the football field. The moment my mom dropped me off, I would run to the football field and I would stay there for at least 3 whole hours. Or as long as I could before the teachers found out where I was. And it would be situations to where I would have to cry and explain to them, you don't know what's going on. You don't understand why I have to go through. And you're like she would, they would try to blow it off. They would downplay it. They would tell me I'm overreacting. But at the same time, they weren't going through what I was going through. And a lot of the times the teachers saw what I was going through. If I was getting beat up, they would see it. Some of them would intervene, but some of them would just allow it to happen because even some of them were jealous of my family. So I started dealing with depression. I was dealing with it for years, and I dealt with low self esteem, because I was thinking maybe I was the problem. Maybe it was the fact that, and I can't believe I used to believe this, but I was thinking maybe I was too smart for my, for my own good. So I would try to find ways to be able to make the bullying stop. So it would be situations to where I've had classmates come to me and ask me to help them with class assignments, especially the 9 weeks exams, the 9 weeks test and semester exams. I was a hot commodity now. I was, because there were classmates that went to school and did not do anything. They didn't even do enough to be able to get by. They didn't. So they depended on me to be able to do what I need, for to help them with their assignments and stuff like that. So that's how the situation started. But even though I helped so many classmates, and they won't admit it, but because of them, they were able to finish high school.
These kids are bullying you because you're getting good grades, you're doing what you're supposed to be in school. Do you look back on it now and think there was a factor or an element of jealousy from them?
It was. I absolutely agree. And I feel like they were jealous because they didn't come, some of my classmates didn't come from happy homes and stable environments. It took, like, the funny thing about being that young is that it takes years for you to be able to wise up. And some of my classmates did, others did not. But the ones that did wise up, they came and explained to me that the household that I came from, they didn't come up from. They weren't raised to where they were inspired to be their best at something. They didn't even have parents that cooked meals. They had to be able to fend for themselves, and for them to be in the presence of another person that's close to their age that has everything that they want, it causes jealousy, it causes anger, and it causes resentment. So I look back on it and I realized it wasn't my fault. I realized that I was doing everything right. It's just that you have individuals that they don't know how to express how they feel. Sometimes I feel like jealousy is a negative form of admiration.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you said it so perfectly. These kids have issues, like you said, that they're dealing with, and they can't lash out to the people that they want to, so they take it out on other kids that they see doing what they perceive to be better than them, even though you're all, at the time, you're all just kids. To ask one more question about the bullying, you talked about that starting in first grade, and kind of as people kind of got their bearings, kind of grew up a little bit, you talked about them coming to you and apologizing and really realizing that their behavior was abhorrent. Um, but did this go on all the way through graduating high school?
All the way until my senior year, all the way. And the reason why is because I did not know how to fight back. Now, I've always took my mom's advice when it came to these kinds of things, because I would come to school, I would come home, I would either have a bruise on some part of my body or my face, and she'll look at me, she'll tell me what happened, she'll ask me what happened, and I'll be like, Mom, you know what happened. And she'll just be quiet. And at first we tried telling the teachers, that made it worse. Tried telling the principal. The principal was just trying to make it seem like I was a quote unquote tattletale. Um, Tried fighting back, and that definitely made it worse because I did not know how to fight. Like, I was always weak growing up physically, so I felt like I was trapped. I really did.
I'm like overwhelmed with emotion. I feel what you felt from your story, and it's very very sad because I'm sure that other people are experiencing it right now, and it's a cycle we need to stop.
Well, if you can't understand something, at least try to respect that it exists, and that's what I believe.
I agree. I agree. One of the taglines I use in a lot of my posts is that being human isn't one size fits all, and the only way that we can treat each other better is to try to understand each other.
I agree with Fitzy too. He says physical violence isn't the answer. People need more empathy, talking about why people act the way they act. And I believe understanding is key. I do. I do. I believe that you really just can't feel that you can understand or know something just off of first impressions and things like that, or your perception of a situation.
There's an organization that I follow that I'm always trying to communicate with, and it's called Stand for the Silent. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I would look it up. It's unfortunately they talk a lot about young kids who have lost their lives because of bullies.
Wow. I
Yeah.
definitely do want to be able to look into that because I mean, that's the whole reason, one of the reasons why I started making music. I wanted to be able to, be able to make that one song that can be able to stop a person and be like, okay, well, my life is valuable. My life is important. I don't need to be doing this.
Yep. Well, it's a great segue too, because I was about to ask you about how you got into music. You told me that you were a hip hop artist, so I'm really interested in hearing about that. But yeah, I talked about doing these shows to identify with people, and I identify with your mission to connect with people and connect people through your message. And that's kind of why I like these shows, is I want to connect people through these messages. And if there's one episode that someone watches, one interview that someone watches, and they say, that's me, or I identify with that, and I'm not alone here. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me how you
I,
got into hip hop, and what have you done in that arena? Tell me how things are going.
well, this is now that's also an epic story that, 10 years from later I want to look at and smile. Now, my brothers, I used to be a big fan of R&B. And when I was getting bullied, it actually soothed me. With me, I don't know if you can see it, but I have scars on my wrist to be able, because I used to cut myself a lot.
I see them.
Um, one day, it was on a Friday. I was getting, I got bullied really, really badly. I got wedged by two people at the same time. And my sister picked me up. She didn't even ask me what was going on. She didn't say anything. It's just she could see in my face that something was wrong. And my mom, I was really planning to commit suicide that day. Like I had it made up in my mind, because with me, I have an old soul, and the way that I was thinking is that if my life has been like this ever since first grade, it's probably going to be like this for the rest of my life. And it scared me because that's not living. That's not even existing. That's being in fear. So I had it made up in my mind. I was going to go home and go into my room and I was going to use the bread knife. But my sister played a song on her CD. It was from an artist named Boosie. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but his name is Lil Boosie. And he played a song called You Don't Know My Struggle. And when I heard the song, I just cried. I cried to the point to where I had no bodily fluids in my body. And all I know is that I wanted to be able to be like him. So later on that day, I started listening to my sister's CDs. And I knew right there and then I wanted to be able to be just like him and be able to make music that people could understand. So I started writing music. I started because I was still 13 at the time. I was still 13 in high school in the ninth grade. So my journey started at 13. And what's funny about it is that what really just drove me is that when I was 9 years old, I was introduced to Spider-Man. And I was watching Spider-Man the animated series, and my one of my older brothers was just watching. I was like, Ken, who is that? You're like, that's Spider-Man. I'm like, who is Spider-Man? You're like, Spider-Man is just a nerd that's a superhero. I'm like, I'm a nerd. Oh my God. So I'm looking at the situation like I can't believe a nerd can be anything besides a nerd. And I said, I want to be a hero too. So fast forward to me becoming 13, I'm starting to write my lyrics. I'm writing music and stuff like that. And nobody knew I could rap until I turned 16. I recited some lyrics for them, and when I did, everybody went crazy. Like all everybody that was around me went crazy. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is the way I can become that hero I always dreamed of. So I started taking it more seriously. And one thing led to another. And here I am working on my first ever mixtape.
That's awesome. So you have to make sure that when it's done, you post it and you tell us and tag me so that people can see where it is.
Absolutely. And the thing that makes this mixtape so important is not just because it's my first one, but because it's political.
Okay.
So this is huge. This is like monumental because um one thing I wanted to do to be able to stand out was to make music that educated people and enlighten them and that raised awareness because a lot of people are talking about it, but I want to be able to make music about the things that people are talking about.
Well, I definitely am excited to hear your music when it's done and hear you share your message and your story through your music. Um, I have a couple of questions that I usually ask to kind of round things out. I know we've been talking for quite some time. Um,
Yes, ma'am.
so one question I have is, what is something that would surprise people to know about you?
I am afraid of frogs.
You're afraid of frogs?
Oh yes, yes, I am terrified of them, especially the big fat ones. They look like aliens.
Little bullfrogs.
Oh, oh yes, no, 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 no.
Okay,
Like
this
if
is funny because I love frogs.
wow, I didn't know that. Well, maybe the small ones like tree frogs and stuff like that, but the huge ones, no, no.
That's so funny. I would never think to be afraid of them. I actually was on vacation somewhere one time and I parked and I opened my car door and stepped out and I almost stepped on a bullfrog. It was just sitting there by the rain gutter. But anyways, so someone asked what tracks you have right now out, if any, and where can we find them?
Well, most of my songs are on SoundCloud. You can go to SoundCloud/Geekster the Super Nerd. I do have a song out for the mixtape called No Soft Politics. If you are a true music fan and if you truly enjoy music that really speaks volumes and speaks to the soul, I encourage you to check out my music. I sincerely do.
So I have to say, I still love that you're afraid of frogs. It's so genuine. I adore you. This has been so fun. So my last question for this interview is: as you're out and about, if people pass you by, or if people are perusing your Instagram these days, since we're not really passing people by, but what is one thing that you would want people to know about Geekster the Super Nerd slash Lawrence? What is one thing you would want people to know about you?
I love who I am. And it took some years, and that's one of the reasons why my nickname was is Super Nerd. It is a funny story behind that. I had a mentor at one time named Big Stacks, and I recorded 2 songs with him, and on my third song, he said, "Okay, here's the thing. Before you record another song, you need to have a stage name." So I was like, "How about Geek?" He said, "No, how about Geekster?" And then I was like, okay, Geekster, but it seems so bland. So I said, well, I'm not the average nerd. So I said, how about Geekster the Super Nerd? Because the reason why I call myself Super Nerd is because there are nerds that accept that there are nerds, but the thing that makes me a super nerd is that I embrace what I am, to the fullest extent, in the hopes that I can be able to encourage other nerds and geeks and outcasts to love who they are, because I feel like I'm pretty awesome.
I think so too.